Hi guys. It is Gambas TV here, and I tell you what, welcome to my second episode of GambasTalk. This is the series where I basically talk about all the different things that interest me. That can be film, that can be music, that can be TV, that can be the ball that's just bounced on the floor from the really bad intro that I tried to do. I'm still getting used to this series, you know, I was having a lot of issues figuring out the lighting for this. Me and my brother were standing here figuring out what the best angle would be for the two lights that we have to make sure that the green screen looks good. I might even try some green screen effects in this video to make sure there's no glare on my glasses. I think there's horrendous like shadow on my face that makes me look really dark and evil, but don't worry, I'm not evil. I'm not like possessing you through the video or anything. It's just bad lighting. Today, I want to ask, do we take review scores too seriously? Is our kind of attraction to and our obsession with ratings out of 10, star scales, thumbs up, thumbs down, all that good stuff, unhealthy? The reason I was inspired to make this video, really the main inspiration was I need to start making some more videos again because I haven't made videos in a couple of weeks. But the reason I was mainly inspired was the other day me and my family were watching the movie Krampus, and if you don't know what Krampus is, it's a kind of crimbo horror film with this like goat thing comes around attacking different people on Christmas, and it's kind of like a mix of a family comedy and like a monster horror film. It's quite good. I ended up giving it a 7 out of 10. There we go again with the rating fixation. But while I was watching the film, I kind of realised that throughout the film, and I kind of do this with many films because I'm a film reviewer. I'm not professional, but I like to think of myself as a film critic. So whenever I'm watching a film, I'm always thinking about, well, what would I rate this film if it were to stop right now? Would I give it a 5? Would I give it an 8? Would I give it a 6, 7? Blah, blah, blah. And throughout Krampus, I was thinking to myself, well, if the film were to stop now, what would it be? And it kind of like oscillated through the whole film. Every 5-10 minutes of the film I was thinking, okay, this is going to be a 7 film. No, it's going to be a 5. Ooh, this is going to be a 9 film. And it kind of went back and forth. And I realised that throughout the entire film, I was kind of thinking more about what I was going to say about the film at the end of the film, as opposed to actually just living there, being in the film, letting the film kind of wash over me, absorbing the film, which is something that I like to, do all the time. I like to get enveloped in some kind of escapism. I like to just watch the film when it's there, rather than think about what I'm going to give it after. But with all the different, things that go into reviewing movies, all the different pressures of reviewing movies, wanting to, give an original opinion, wanting to give your opinion, all the different things. I'm always thinking about, okay, if the film were to stop now, what am I going to say about it? And sometimes, like halfway through the film, I'll feel like I've already made my mind up on whether it's good or not. And obviously that's not a healthy way to look at movies. I've noticed something about myself as well. Whenever I watch a review by one of my favourite critics on YouTube, generally I'm talking about Anthony Fantano, whenever I watch one of his music reviews, generally the first thing I do is go into the description and see what he's rated the newest album. And if the rating is a particularly interesting rating, I might go back and watch the video. But 9 times out of 10, I don't have time to watch him talk for 10 minutes about music. So I only look at the rating, and if it's a particularly high rating, I might put that album in my list of albums I need to listen to. And I do the same thing for most of the other critics I watch on YouTube. Rarely do I ever watch the whole video of a YouTuber that reviews things, or read an entire review, unless the rating is interesting. And that's simply because, like everyone, I don't have time to watch hours and hours of people reviewing things and read hundreds and hundreds of reviews of everything. I just want to get the basic scores for things and see what the kind of general consensus of a film is, or an album, or a video game, blah blah blah. And the stuff that is generally positively rated, I will check out myself. I tend to watch only films, besides stuff that's really popular and stuff that's been specifically recommended to me by people, that has been critically acclaimed. By critically acclaimed, I tend to mean via the rating. Obviously there's stuff that's divisive. I love watching films that are divisive, that a lot of people are giving 0.5-star ratings to, a lot of people are giving 5-star ratings to, and oftentimes I find myself kind of in between all that. But I find myself putting so much emphasis on the specific rating that a critic or a user or whoever has reviewed the film, the whatever, and not actually finding myself reading the content of the review. And I think obviously that most people would think, well, the actual writing, the content is much more important than whether the critic gave it a 6 or a 7 or an 8. Then again, we often get butthurt, or we get things get really controversial, divisive. People get really excited whenever some critic has given a work a particularly negative or positive rating. And I talked about this in my objectivity versus subjectivity video. It's much more important the content of the actual review. Seeing how a critic got to that final rating is more important than whether they said it was good or bad at the very end of it in their summary. And I guess another question that pops off of that is whether rating systems can be accountable. Can a critic giving something an 8 always have kind of the same thing to say about every single film that they give an 8 to? Or would something be an 8 for a different reason to another film? You might see a video game get a 6 out of 10 review and think, okay, that must be a pretty bad game then. But then you look at another review of another game that got 6 out of 10, and it might be a game that you really like, and you think, oh, that's not a bad game, it's a pretty good game. Then you might read the two reviews, and one of them might actually sound way more negative than the other one. And basically the question I'm just trying to throw out there is how important are the specific ratings? Is it really important for a critic to have a consistent system that they rate on? And are the systems that current critics use that valuable? I talked about my rating system in my last video, and the system that I kind of use is a very subjective one, because obviously I talked about subjectivity being for me much better than objectivity in film criticism. So I give a high rating to something that I consider to be a film that I personally enjoyed, to be one that I think will have lasting value, will be memorable. And then I give a low rating to a film that I thought was generic, bland, boring, that didn't personally interest me. And it might have good technical merits, but if it didn't personally interest me, if it didn't make me go wow, then I can't give it a positive rating. Yet other critics might give it a positive rating because of those technical merits or whatever, and that's totally fine. The question is, can we be accountable with all these rating systems that we've got? Certainly one thing that I often do is when I see a rating that a critic has given a film or a game or an album or whatever, if I know that critic well, i.e. if I read their reviews often, and obviously yes, I do read many reviews, I just don't read every single one of them because there's not time to read all of them. Plus I like to go into each listen of an album or watch of a film blind, so I tend to read reviews only after I've seen a film. If ever. But often I'll see a rating that a critic has given a film, and I might not actually read the review, I'll just see the rating, and based on how well I know that reviewer, I might think to myself, okay, if they gave it a 6, I can pretty much summarize in my head based on their other reviews what they probably said about the film, especially considering what kind of film it is, what other people have said about the film. If they gave it a 7 out of 10, that probably means they liked it, but they had specific misgivings about it. If they gave it a 10, okay, I know the reviewer, they like that kind of film, it's probably not going to be a 10 for me, but it might still be a good movie, so I'll check it out. Now that's kind of the way I think, and it's always because of the specific ratings themselves that happens, rather than because of the actual content of reading a review. This is really, really good lighting. I like this angle a lot. I won't talk in this angle very much, but I like it a lot. Oh, can't stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing can ever bring me down. Make it easier to sing. Then this gets me asking the question, okay, so what if we stop putting ratings in reviews? Obviously there aren't many critics out there, especially popular critics, who don't have ratings at the end of their reviews or at the beginning. Most websites that do reviews, they'll show you the rating in big stars or numbers before you actually click on it, so you get the basic idea, and so you know on the front page what's worth watching or worth playing or worth listening to from the get-go. But it's interesting to think about, what if we didn't have ratings in films? Would reviews still be as popular as they are? Are critics able to still be successful without having specific ratings attached to their reviews? Obviously, most people who don't have ratings, the more serious, erudite critics out there who write think pieces for different magazines, might not be quite as popular in the mainstream, but nonetheless they're still equally important in adding to the discourse. But one critic, Sally Jane Black, she is really good at having excellent content and forcing you to read that content, because in her Letterboxd reviews she does not attach a rating to her reviews. You can go in and look at the ratings afterwards, because she'll put the rating in afterwards. But when she logs her actual diary entries, her actual reviews, she does not put her rating on the film. So you're actually kind of forced to read what she's written about it, which, by the way, she is one of the best writers on Letterboxd, if not the best writer, in my opinion. So it's definitely worth reading her stuff anyway. But you actually have to go in and read the stuff rather than just looking at the rating and say, okay, she gave it a 4 out of 5, that means it's a good film, sort of thing. And one of the great things about Sally Jane Black, as I mentioned, is that she doesn't put a rating on a review, so you kind of have to go in there and read. And the important thing about her content is that it's very challenging to read. It's stuff that makes you question your own beliefs, your own likes and dislikes, and makes you kind of rethink every single film that you've watched that she's reviewed. And I think that if more critics did that, stop putting their ratings on the films, which I don't think I'm ready to do yet because I'm too lazy. And I like ratings. I like seeing kind of the progression of my ratings on my Letterboxd profile. But I think if more people starting to do that, then we might have a bit more of a focus on the actual discussion, the nuanced discussion. Nuance, please. Where's the nuance? When it comes to films, when it comes to music, when it comes to video games, and so on and so forth. So I just want to leave those questions out there. Do you think we put too much emphasis and too much weight on the ratings we give the things that are reviewed? Do you think we put too much weight on scores for different things? Do you think that criticism would be better if it was just focused on the writing as opposed to things being a certain rating out of 10? What do you think is the perfect rating system? All these different questions. If you like reviews, if you like films, video games, music, whatever, let me know in the comments below what you thought. Thanks for watching, and goodbye. Or are ratings underrated? Do we